Hi everyone, welcome to Dennis Deep Cuts number 24. I'm back at home. So today we're going to talk about records being bought on tour and buying records on tour, touring and records. See what happens. So I'm back from tour and from traveling, and I am sorry that I didn't put out an episode last week, but I decided that I deserved a couple of days off after the tour. So I stayed in Los Angeles and hung out, and I didn't want to rush it. But here I am, I'm back home, and the regular programming continues. I did a couple of really cool interviews on tour that I'm going to start putting out on the channel soon. Great stuff. And I'm going to continue with my usual nonsense of bragging about my record collection and so on and so forth. One of the greatest aspects of being on tour is that I get to go to record stores and I get to meet record dealers and I get to buy records basically. I have two apps on my phone. One's called the Record District and the other one's called Happy Cow. So records and vegan meals. And that's pretty much the lifeblood of my touring. So today I figured I'll show you a couple of records that I bought on tour that I'm super excited about and why. And a little about, just being on tour, traveling and trying to find good music. Yeah, I think that's going to be great. Let's dig in. So when I landed in New York City about 3 weeks ago, I stayed at Johnny Temple's house. Johnny Temple is the bass player of Fake Names and a good friend. He was also in a band called Soulside in the 80s. That was a pretty kick-ass band on Discord. And he gave me their new record, A Brief Moment in the Sun, that came out last year on Discord Records. Soulside started as a band called Lunch Meat, and Alexis, that plays drums in Soulside, gave me this awesome Lunch Meat Mission Impossible split. Thank you so much, Alexis. This is beautiful. Well, they started at Lunch Meat, changed the name to Soulside. Put out 3 really killer records in the 80s, and then Soulside morphed into a band called Girls Against Boys that put out some really cool records. And the last record Soulside put out was Hot Bodygram in 1989, so it's been 23 years since they last put out a record. And I'm super excited about this. Soulside was one of those really cool mid-80s punk hardcore adjacent band. I mean, they're kind of a punk hardcore band from that Discord scene, and I love their records. I listened to this one a little bit. It's a bit more mellow, but it still has those Soulside elements of the propulsive bass, and yeah, quite exciting. 23 years between 2 records, that's a long period for anyone. So thank you, Johnny, for the new Soulside record, and thank you, Alexis, for the Lunch Meat Mission Impossible split. Also, Mission Impossible, Dave Grohl's first band, maybe, possibly. Awesome. So when I reached Los Angeles, I met up with my friend Joe Nelson that does a record label called Trust Records. And if you want to check out how to do reissues, look no further than Trust Records. Pretty awesome reissues. He gave me the 7 Seconds Walk Together reissue, and he also gave me the Aggression reissue. And I mean, this is just fabulous. It has a really nice oral history about the record with tons of cool photos and interviews and explanations. And it also has a bonus 7-inch with the Walk Together EP. These are the 2 songs that ended up on the Pusshead compilation. 7 Seconds, insanely important hardcore band. Walk Together. I bought this 1989 maybe, and I loved it, and I still love it, and this is probably the 4th different pressing I have on this one. But yeah, if you want to check out how to do a proper reissue, Trust Records, they're killing it with their reissues right now. Original from 1985, 7 Seconds, Walk Together, Rock Together, stone cold classic. So one of my favorite spots to go record shopping is, of course, Amoeba Records, both in San Francisco and Los Angeles, and also the Oakland one, which is the first one I went to when I went to. I remember the first time I came into Amoeba as someone who's just been to small record stores, and this is like 20 plus years ago, I felt so overwhelmed by the vastness of that collection that I got physically sick and I had to walk out of the store because I'm like, there's too many records. I can't, how am I going to bring all these records home? Anyway, I went, of course, before playing a round of disc golf in the Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, and I bought the new Elton Gun record called Ask. Super excited. Elton Gun is a band from Holland. They were founded in 2016 and they quickly become one of my favorite bands. They play a delicious brand of Turkish psychedelia, and this is their 5th record, and it is traditionals, Turkish traditionals. Sounds fantastic. The artwork's great, and could not be more excited, and I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up on the best records of 2023 list later this year. We'll see, we'll find out. But Elton Gun, you need to check them out. They're fantastic. So if you're a nerd like me, one of the things that might happen is that you meet other record collectors, and you meet other record sellers. And sometimes you'll buy something on, let's say, Discogs, and then you connect with the seller because he's like, oh, I have tons of records. If you come to LA, let's meet up. So I met up and I sat on the curb outside my friend Sam's house, flipping through records, this pretty amazing 7-inch collection. And I bought some LPs as well. And one of the records that I bought that's kind of exciting is the Outnumbered, Why All the Good People Going Crazy, their first record from 1985. Outnumbers are from Illinois, from 1982, and they put out 3 records between 85 and 88 when they broke up. This is great, like power pop, punky power pop, really cool melodies, cool songs. And they're mostly known for the fact that John Giloney, the main singer and songwriter, went on to form super cool queer punk band Pansy Division. And Pansy Division is one of those bands that Noise Conspiracy, we listen to them all the time on tour because we thought they were amazing. So yeah, the Outnumbered, if you want to check out some pretty cool power pop, punk rock related to Pansy Division. I mean, who doesn't? And I love it when friends hooks you up with records. As my friend Benji always says, never pay retail. My friend Mike Gitter, who's a legend A&R guy from our music field, he works for Century Media, and every time we meet, he'll hook me up with some cool metal records, and this time is no exception. The second Forbidden record, Twisted Into Form, from 1990, and they're doing this really nice reissues on Comet Records, and it's awesome. Forbidden, typical thrashy, thrash metal kind of band that sounds a bit like that Bay Area thrash scene, like with Exodus and Testament. They were part of that world, and they started in 1985, I think, and then probably still going at it because metal bands, they just go at it forever and ever. If you want to hear some of that solid Bay Area thrash, why not check out Forbidden, Twisted Into Form. It's their second record, and it's pretty awesome. One of the highlights of touring in 2012 for me was when we played in Chicago, this beautiful old theater that had no air conditioning, and we asked Keith Morris, he used to play in bands like Black Flag and Circle Jerks. I guess he still plays in Circle Jerks because they're actually touring right now. If he wanted to do some Black Flag songs with us, and he said yes. And it was pretty exciting. We took Off with us on tour, which was fantastic. I love their first record. It came out in 2010, I think. And they just put out a new record last year called Free LSD. and from what I gather, it's a part of like a movie, and it's a part of like a big whole multimedia thing that they're doing. Steven and Mario left the band, but Autry from Trail of Dead and Vanishing Lives in the band, and they got a new drummer, a jazz drummer. Pretty exciting. I mean, it's definitely a bit more, it sounds a bit more metal, whilst the first off record and the first 7 inches sounded like a super cool updated mix of like Black Flag and Circus Jerks. This is a bit of a more metal touch to it, but it sounds really cool, and I'm really excited to dig into that, because I thought Off was great. They were always great live, and they're great people, so what's not to love? So check out the new Off record, Free LSD. When I did my episode on 27 inches in 20 minutes, you can check out somewhere on my page, I talked about a band called the Brain Eaters out of New York City, and they're like they put out a 7-inch in 1986, and I said, oh, someone put out all of their stuff on a compilation LP, I need to buy it. And when I came to Amoeba in San Francisco, I bought it out on Cleopatra Records last year. The Brain Eaters complete discography. It's their 7-inch from 1986. It's a tape that they put out in 1986. They're probably supposed to be a record, and then 4 unreleased tracks. And Brain Eaters is one of those gothic horror punk bands, sort of in the same mold as Misfits or maybe Sam Hain. And if you are into that, check it out. I mean, it is not Misfits or the Sam Hain, but it's a pretty cool record, and there's like that little moment in time when that was the thing, and the Brain Eaters, they're pretty cool. So another album that I picked up in San Francisco is Inferno, German hardcore thrashers from Augsburg, Bavaria. Their record from 1986. They started in the early 80s and broke up in 1990. And the record that they put up before this one was a split LP with the Japanese thrashers Execute. It was released on Pussmort Records, that I think we already mentioned in relation to the 7 Seconds 7-inch. Pussmort was, of course, Pusshead, the illustrator and singer of Septic Death label that he had in the 80s. And they put out the previous Inferno record. I love this. The artwork's awesome. It's like a typical German small town, nuclear bomb, mid-80s hardcore thrashers. Such a good look. I like it. The music is fast, thrashy, sort of bordering on crossover hardcore. And if you love, you know, some European hardcore, then yeah, check out Inferno. They're pretty awesome. I'm not sure I talked about reissues versus original pressing that much before. I'll talk a little bit about it. So when it comes to music that I really collect, I need the original pressings. There's this weird drive in me that's like, oh, I need the original pressings. But for a lot of music, I'm fine with buying nice reissues if the record's maybe a bit more pricey than I think it's worth, or I want to spend the money on something, you know, that I'm collecting. I don't mind buying reissues. But, you know, if I love a record, I kind of want the original pressing, because I am a little bit of a nerdy collector, and then that's kind of what you do. Anyway, a record that I've been looking for a very long time, that I wouldn't mind getting the original pressing of, but it's quite pricey and it's really hard to find, is this Alice Coltrane record, Journeys in Satchidandana from 1971. I've been looking for this for a long time, and this is a brand new 2023 reissue of this record. Looks beautiful, sounds great. Alice Coltrane was, of course, married to John Coltrane for a bit, and she played the harp, which is quite uncommon in the jazz world. She also played the piano. Pharoah Sanders, one of my favorites, is on this record, and it's kind of spiritual jazz, maybe. It's very esoteric and kind of meditative music, and I think it's great. The later days of her life, she became a Hindu devotee and spent most of her time as a spiritual guru, and also putting out records with like Hindu music. But this record by Alice Coltrane is fabulous, and yeah, I'm very happy that I found it, because usually even the reissues of this one kind of sell out quickly, and they're also quite expensive. So happy to have found an Alice Coltrane record. I did an episode on my most expensive albums a while back, when I was going through my LPs and what are the most expensive LPs that I have. And you know, you ask yourself, how much money can you spend on the record, and why do you spend that much money on the record, and are you a crazy person? And the answer is probably yes. And one of the records that I talked about, maybe in another episode, someone asked about my top wants, was a record with the New Jersey hardcore band Mental Abuse, and the record Streets of Filth, which is it's super expensive and really hard to find, especially if you live in Sweden. And then before the Fake Names tour started, we hung out in New Jersey and Asbury Park, actually, for a couple of days to practice and get in shape. And our first show was in Asbury Park, which was pretty cool. And my friend Brian, not Brian Baker, another Brian, you can check out his Instagram account on Ancient Artifact. He's like, he collects collections. And he hit me up and said, I have the Mental Abuse record. And I went and I bought it. Streets of Filth, and this is like maybe top of my want list of American hardcore records, and it was quite pricey. It was really pricey, even though he gave me a good deal. It was still quite pricey. I also bought a shit ton of super cool 7-inches off my want list from him. But yeah, this is a super cool 1985 thrashy hardcore record that I've been looking for a long time, and now I finally have it. So now I need to find other records that I could put on my want list, and I could fill my life with purpose and meaning, and the hunt continues. And I think that's the thing, like when you go on tour, it is easy to sit on Discogs and you can sort of look for records that you want, and you can order them online quite expensively. But then going on tour, when you go to record stores or you meet collectors or stuff like that, I love it, because you buy records that you didn't know that you wanted them, but you see them and you look at them and you feel them, and you look at the year, you look at the label, you look at what kind of music is it, and it gets you super excited, and you feel like, I can't believe I lived my entire life with this record. I need to bring it home. And that sort of hunt is beautiful. And on my phone, I have a huge list of records I'm looking for, and it's a beautiful feeling when you can come home from a tour and you can cross off a couple of those records. And I crossed off a big one, Mental Abuse, Streets of Filth. Possible you can find it on YouTube. Yeah. And there we have it, 10 records that I bought on tour that I was super excited about. I bought some killer 7-inches, so maybe that could be another episode. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'll do more episodes on 7-inches somehow. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Please tell your friends about my YouTube channel if they like music, if they're nerds like me or us. I assume that you're a nerd because you're watching this. There's no other explanation. Until next time, stay wild, my friends. Thank you. Bye-bye.